all month, my favorite topic, and that is reimagining our prosperity for our life. It's so significant. I think it was maybe it was last Sunday. Somebody came up to me last Sunday and said, yeah, I just don't know what it's like. Like, should I really go for more wealth and more prosperity? Really, they were having a conflict within themselves about, does that feel selfish? Should I do that? Why should I go for that? And I said, wait a second, like, what would you do with more financial abundance? What would you do with it? And it was like, well, I think I'd get a bigger house. And after that, okay, what? I'd give it all away. I'm like, well, that's the reason to go after it. Really? And I said, yeah. Why do you think I expect to win the lotto? Be a philanthropist. Wouldn't that be cool, right? I don't want a bigger house. Not for me, but it's so we're going to keep bringing things to press up against you this month. And that's one of the things I just want to start off with. Like, if there is something in you that really is not letting that which is pressing up against you out on this topic called prosperity, man, we're going to work on that this month. All right? And today we're talking about accepting your good. Accepting your good. Just start off by, I accept all my good. Now, did you really mean that? Yes. At home, did you really mean that? Let's do that again. I accept all my good. Oh, y'all did that like me. That was cool. I'm going to bring in a lot of Ernest Holmes today because it is what he's taught me that has really, truly grown my prosperity. And so the first thing I want to start with is there is absolutely nothing in the universe that limits you. No thing. There is nothing in the universe that would or could desire to limit you. There is nothing in this universe that is pressing on you saying, no, don't desire more. There's nothing. There is nothing in the universe that withholds from you. Nothing. Doesn't withhold. Because if it did, it would withhold from itself. Well, why would it want to do that? Right? This is so significant. So there's nothing in the universe that would limit you. Doesn't want to. Doesn't want you to want to limit you. It doesn't want to limit itself, and it doesn't. So there's only one potential person that stands in the way of this. Can you guess who it is? Me. Yeah, me. Right? No, not me, but you. You are part of its purpose. You're a huge part of its purpose. Right? And so spirit, it seeks, it is urging. I know you can feel this inside of you sometimes. It's like urging, and it's pushing against you on the inside of you to fulfill itself. You ever feel like something's like pushing from the inside, trying to push out? You ever felt that? It's constantly doing that, right? Victoria Falls, I'm going to have lots of images of water today, right? Oh, we're not ready for that yet. But so no matter how abundantly the universal presence is pouring out its universal gifts, the key is that there must be a container, there must be a vessel, there must be something to accept it. I just wanted to do a couple of demonstrations today, and I couldn't figure out how to do it without making a big mess. But I want you to imagine that I have the biggest container of water that I could hold, like the biggest pitcher, filled with water. And I just start pouring it, and there's no container or vessel beneath me. Where would it go? Has no place, it just goes everywhere, doesn't it? So there must be this container or vessel of acceptance, Holmes tells us, And there must be a chalice, like this cup. A chalice is something very special, very sacred. A chalice of expectancy. Or this gift can't even be complete. It just like pours out and goes nowhere. Nothing. So today we're going to talk about attracting, expecting, and accepting. 3 key things. We go beyond accepting your good. We've got to expect your good, and you've got to accept it, right? So we're going to attract it, expect, and accept. And truly, I know God is your source, but where is the primary source that you go to in your mind where I say, where does your financial source come from? Job. Anybody else got one? Your heart. But it's typically my job. That's where I get my paycheck. If I've already retired, where I get my retirement, all of that. Social Security, right? That's primary. And so our prosperity goes way beyond that. Way beyond that. There's not one waterfall on this planet. There's not one ocean on this planet. There's not one river on this planet. There's not one stream on this planet, is there? Multiple ways in which the waters of life is flowing through everything. And this is the truth of our life. It's the truth of our life. So attracting. We're going to start with attracting. We hear about the law of attraction a lot. Ernest Holmes goes so far beyond the law of attraction. He says, if you could realize the tremendous power of attraction that holds everything in its place. It holds everything. It's attracting and holding it all in its place. This planet is being held in its place as it moves around. It is yours. It is yours, this gift. So this power that is attracting and holding everything in its place, everything in the cosmos, in the universe, it is yours, this gift. It is the divine birthright of every living soul. So that means you're not left out. Not a one. But we limit ourselves by thoughts of limitation. So he invites us to open the doors of our consciousness, and he says, and expand, and expand, and expand, and expand. And no longer think in terms of a backyard lot, meaning just the little backyard here, when we've got the whole world in terms of the infinite nature, in terms of the universe. So we can attract things. We can attract amazing things. Way beyond the paycheck and, the typical financial means in which things flow into our lives. We can attract it by the thoughts. We can attract people. We can attract things, which will actually, as we hold those thoughts, they will obliterate the experience of any thoughts of lack and limitations. And the more that we work on this, the more we receive. I remember over 30 years ago, I was like, wow, I hear about all these people going to great places. I loved to downhill ski at the time. And I didn't have a partner that wanted to downhill ski, but I wanted to keep skiing. And I had just recently started working for a company here, actually in Arlington, Texas, back in 1994. And I had customers, and I just developed a relationship with one of these customers. And out of nowhere, this guy said, I have a beautiful home in Steamboat Springs. You could stay there anytime you'd like. And I went, what? He said, yes. I went, It took me a while, but I went back to that guy. I said, were you really serious? He said, yes. And he said, you can stay there anytime you like. So I got 2 weeks at his beautiful home. My father went. He just hung out. He sure didn't ski. And I got to ski and be with him. It even had a steam shower. I mean, this place was to the nines. And that was when I started to realize, like, oh my gosh, I didn't have to pay for that. One of the most expensive things on a trip. And then when I came here and I started using this more and more, like, I accept my good and, my life is so prosperous and it comes from all the rivers and the waterfalls and it's not just one ocean, it's everything. It's this divine oceanic substance. Next thing I knew, when Peter and I got together, she said, I've been going to this place in Colorado and we can go there anytime we want. And I said, really? Great. Next thing I knew, someone said, I have a timeshare and we can't use it. You want to go there? Yes. Great. And, just started receiving that. And recently, someone that I haven't even met said, would you like to stay in a place in Santa Fe? Yes, I would. Beautiful place. Because I attract those people and circumstances by knowing that my prosperity is way beyond the one financial source that I receive, right? There's someone sitting in this sanctuary now that when I wanted to go down to the border to go with faith leaders to help protest the fact that they were separating the children from their families and all that mess and the inhumanity at our borders, I just put it out there and someone in this community said, I have frequent flyer miles, here you go. And I got to go. So I'm encouraging you to expand beyond what you think. Ernest Holmes says, we do not take what we wish, but we do attract to ourselves that which is like our thought. So, in capital letters, he says, we must become more if we wish to draw a greater good into our life. So we're the ones that provides the mold for the creative law to take place. And unless we increase that mold, that which we receive is not increased. So substance can't increase in our experience unless we begin to increase and increase and increase the mold in which it can be poured into. Bigger molds. Not mold, bigger molds. I'm being clear with the universe because we recently got some mold, and I don't want that. Bigger molds, right? Reimagine prosperity. And by the way, it doesn't have to just be one mold. Let's just go past there too. Give us this day our daily bread. Okay, Jesus never talked about the size of the loaf, and he sure to heck never talked about just one loaf. You can have as many loaves as you want. So, you are either attracting or repelling y'all didn't call me out the first time. They were switched. Okay, you're either attracting or repelling in accord to your mental attitudes. You are either identifying yourself with lack or with abundance, with love or friendship or with indifference. And you cannot keep attracting from your experience that which corresponds to the sum total of the states of your consciousness. I love this picture. It's like the law of reflection. So the reflection corresponds to the image that you hold in your mind, like holding an image before a mirror. So your life is a mirror peopled with the forms of your own acceptance. The images that we hold, reimagining those images, growing those images, expanding those images, thinking of new ways that maybe never have been thought of, holding those images of your thought attract to you, and attract all these things through people, through situations, through circumstances, whatever it is, it keeps attracting to you that which you're holding inside. It's a mirror reflection. Now, once these images are held within you, and you're growing the containers and you're expanding the molds and there's more and more of them, as we hold them, here's the key. As I hold this thought, now I expect it to be here, to come forth. So it's all about expecting. We've got to expect it. As we make the bigger buckets, we've got to expect that the bucket is filled. Expecting. It is huge. I learned about expecting in South Africa recently, holding the thought of seeing a particular animal. And then once I held the thought of seeing that particular animal, I expected to see it. It also helped when other people did too. There's power in the group. But I truly held the expectation that no matter what, I'm going to see it. And by the way, what grew my expectation is I've been feeling that for years. I know what that feels like on the inside when I expect it, and there's no wiggle room. I just expect it. But then when someone said, so I expected to see the lion, I expected to see the lion, I knew that the lion was being drawn to me, and it was like, okay, I expect it. But then they said someone saw the lion, and then I knew for sure, we were for sure going to see the lion, and there was this new kind of expectation that grew in me. One that's never been there. And it was like that, like better than no wiggle room expectation. It was like, oh, daggum right, this is happening no matter what expectation. And that growth of that expectation is serving me. So what do you expect to come into your life? What do you expect? Ernest Holmes says that I believe we should expect to have the good we want when we want it, as much of it as we can take and use. Knowing that nothing is stored up in this life outside of a state of consciousness. It has no bounds. It is not that we desire to possess. It's not about this. It's not about possession. But to have access to the substance which shall flow continuously as supply to meet every need. He says that is wealth. See, it's not about possessing something. This thing, this divine oceanic substance has no bounds. It's always forever flowing. It doesn't store up anything. It just keeps flowing. It has no bounds. And we have access to it. And the more that we are able to expect, the more that we are able to experience, the more we are able to experience, the more that we get to share, the more that we get to prove that this stuff works, the more that we get to be the example. And people go, wow, if she can do it, I can do it. If he can do it, I can do it. Really? That person did it? Oh my gosh, then it must be something that I can do too. We need more and more and more examples of this, of expanding. When I was thinking about this trip to South Africa, I've been to Bali and a couple of places that are very far away. And I started thinking about it, and I'm like, really? It's a 24-hour trip. One way. It's like, that's a long time. I was like, okay, well, I knew what I would buy in a ticket, because I'd bought one 2 years ago. Luckily, I got my refund back on that when COVID shut it all down, right? And it was an economy flight, and I was really thinking about these, 16 hours, 17 hours, long flights. And I was like, so this time, and I'd grown, right? I had expanded over 2 years. This time I said, you know what? I'm going to expect a different way that will work for me to go there and a little bit more luxury. I'm going to do this. I just put the mold inside of me, and I said, I get to just have this really enjoyable way to get to South Africa. And the next thing I know, literally within a week or two, a source that I've never heard, I've heard of, but had never read an article or anything. It's this source called The Points Guy. That's what the name of it is, The Points Guy. So you can check that out. And I just happened, the headline said, 75,000 frequent flyer miles, and you can go to, it said Asia or South Africa. I was like, I'm interested. What is this? I read the article. This guy told you exactly how to be able to go on Qatar Airlines and fly what they call their Q suites. It is, of all airlines on the planet, the nicest way to fly. It's your own bedroom, basically, it feels like, with a door and anything you want to eat and all of that. And I was like, wow. And so he said, yeah, you can do this. You can use American Airlines points, and those are the points that Peter and I have. We put everything on one credit card for this reason. We just, so we can live more prosperous. We don't spread it out. We laser it in, and we get all these points. Anything we purchase, it goes on the points card. Boom. And so I'm like, we have a lot of points, honey. Can I use them? And, it's like, I've found this. But I didn't find it out of DFW. I expected to find a way to go to Cape Town, South Africa, and fly these cute suites. I'm like, I don't know how, but I expect it. I expect it. And I kept searching and searching. I'm going to cut to the chase. It took going out of Philadelphia. Okay. I used Southwest points to get to Philly. No, that's not true. I used American. I bought the American to get to Philly. Doesn't matter. So I got to Philly. But I got 2 flights with Q suites. Now I want to tell you, this is my reservation that shows that I used 75,000 points and I paid $15.70. $15.70 to fly to Cape Town, South Africa on 2 different Q suites. That's what I call living prosperous. All right? And look, I just took a couple of pictures, and I was like, oh, I got to take the pictures. This was new for me, folks. I've never flown like this. I was like, whoa, in all my business years, I even champagne whenever I wanted it, any meal whenever I wanted it. They had menus, whatever, and I ate, and I watched all the movies on the big screen I wanted, and I just laid down, slept. They made my bed. They gave me pajamas. It was nice. And I got to Cape Town. Now, I then expected to get back home that way. I didn't know how, but I expected, well, if I can go that way, I can come that way. And so I looked and looked, and I expected to find it, and I did. I found a flight from Entebbe, Uganda, back to DFW, thank goodness. I didn't have to go to Philly. And 75,000 miles and $87.90. I looked that flight up. That was $13,000 and something. And I used 75,000 points and $87 so expand. And I flew 17 hours back this way. And I share this because I want each of us to affirm in the larger things that we're each now entering into a larger life, that as we feel that something within us is drawing us, pushing on the inside of us, has an idea, wants to live this prosperous life and experience that concept will grow, and then we start to expect only the biggest and the best to happen in our lives. And then we'll find that the bigger and the best experience in our life does happen in our lives. It's this growing thing. I love this. Ernest Holmes says, I have no responsibility except to create the right kind of mental receptivity. That is the truth, he says. To use the mind in a positive, formative ways. And then the mind with a capital N M, or the power which creates everything and projects it, it, he says, will do the rest for us. So we don't have to do it. But I must create the right kind of mental receptivity. And so that means that as we move through life and we work inside of us with this and expand and expand and expand, there's not anxiety, there's expectancy. I expect to go that way, travel that way. I expect to have someone offer, would you like to stay here? I expect. Do you know what? I expect it so much it happened to me yesterday. We went shopping, 2 days ago. We went shopping at Target, and I needed a new barbecue tool at Target, y'all, okay? So I went, and I was like, oh, well, that one's $20. You know, it's not that I don't have money. I just choose where it all goes. And I was like, I'm not going to pay $20 for that little barbecue grill thing. So I looked over here, and there's one for $5. I was like, oh, okay, $5. That one's less expensive, but it's not going to do what I want to do. I want this other one. So I grabbed it. I got two for the price of one. So I grabbed the $5 one and this one. When I went to check out, I did this one, and it said, attendant, please come. So simple. She came over and she said, it didn't have a price tag on it. She said, do you remember what that was? And I went, well, I know this one's $5. I think this one was $8.99. I know it wasn't $20 because I didn't grab that one. I think it was $8.99. Of course, I was expecting her, no, I wasn't, I'm kidding, to go and figure out the price. She said, but I said $8.99. Do you know what she said? She said, $5. Okay, sounds good to me. And I said, thank you, I accept my good. And so, I mean, just that happens all the time. I said $8.99, she put $5 in. And I said, thank you. So it doesn't matter the size, right? Now, the last thing I'll share about my high expectation, which serves our family so well. It serves this community. It serves everyone that is connected to my life. The best expectation I have learned to absolutely have no matter what is no matter how much money we spend each month, I expect to pay that credit card, that one credit card off every single month. Okay? I expect it. Well, sometimes it's tested. And it just so happened in this last big round, this last month of payment, we said yes to pay for Aria's ear surgery, what that took. I went to South Africa and spent money and tipped everywhere I went. And unexpectedly, I had to pay for 9 people to fly to Victoria Falls on British Airways, or because the British Airways flight. And I put my credit card out, and it was $3,300. Now, I expect to get that return back from British Airways, but it hasn't come yet. It's been 2 months. But I expected to pay that credit card bill off. Peter said, I did our taxes. Great. This is what we're getting back. Great. I expect to pay that credit card bill off, and I didn't want to take money out of savings. Literally within 2 days before the credit card bill was to be paid, we got over $7,000 back from the tax return, and that expectation meant that we paid off that credit card bill and we didn't have to dip into savings. This is the expectation I want you to have. Ernest Holmes tells us that it takes faith. We have to have faith and an expectancy of good. And faith is a mental attitude which is so convinced of its own idea that so completely accepts anything contradiction is unthinkable and impossible. And that's how I expect to pay that credit card bill every month. And she does our Quicken books, and then she'll just say, here, pay this credit card off. I'm like, yes, of course. Doesn't matter what the amount is. Yes, of course. We have fixed income. Salary. Yes, of course. I want you to hear this. We have fixed income. It's called salary. Every month, no matter what the amount, we pay that off. Prosperity comes in so many ways. Okay, I got to get to accepting really quick. Life fills all space, and spirit animates every form. But since you are an individual, even the spirit cannot, this is spirit, y'all, even spirit cannot make the gift of life unless you accept it. Life may have given everything to you, but only that which you accept is yours to use. $5. I had to accept that. And I did. I said, thank you. Thank you for my blessing. Hey, you want to go to lunch, Linda? She has to accept that. I'm buying. She'll call me on that later. But she has to accept it. I got this great place in Colorado. Want to say, you have to accept it. There's this beautiful job, whatever it is. You know, I got a friend. You got a friend. I'm saying I, but it's you. Want to just take you on a vacation. Just accept it. That water is pouring on the floor. You've got to accept it. We have to be receivers. We have to accept it. Because it's nature. Its nature is to give. Ours is to receive. It's pouring it from the falls, from the rivers, through the oceans, through the streams, everywhere. So, Ernest Holmes, I'll end on this, he says that the magic key to the storehouse of abundance is this. Its nature is to give. Ours is to receive. The more we receive, we can't store it up either, folks. For only so long can we. At some point we have to give. We'll talk about that this month too. But it's ours to receive. Our acceptance must be spontaneous, like in that moment at the checkout counter, and conscious. I consciously accept it. So, as we each open our consciousness to a greater receptivity of the divine, to an enlarged concept of all this good that can flood into our experiences through the rivers, the oceans, the waterfalls, everything, life will take on a new meaning when we know that we can attract anything we want, we can expect that it's actually here, and we can accept it when it comes. Keep joining us all month because we're going to keep exploring how to reimagine our prosperity like we've never reimagined it before, for the sake of the good of our lives and every life that we touch right here, right now. And so it is.